What really happened to Yaman at the club last night? His emotional confession left everyone shocked. Have you ever wondered what happens when the curtain falls on a star's carefully constructed image? What happens when that famous, perfect exterior shatters for just a moment and leaves you staring at the raw, vulnerable truth beneath? Well, this is exactly what happened at Yaman Nightclub last night, a moment that stunned not only the guests at the venue but the entire world. It was a night that began like any other, filled with flashing lights, music, and joy. Yet, within minutes, it spiraled into an emotional whirlwind that no one saw coming. It all started with the sound of music. The DJ was playing an upbeat, popular track that had the crowd on their feet, dancing, laughing, and celebrating. The club was alive with energy, people lost in the rhythm of the night. Among them, Yaman, dressed immaculately as always, the charismatic figure at the center of attention. For a while, it seemed like just another typical night for the actor, who is known for his stunning looks and larger-than-life presence. But then, in the middle of the wildest part of the evening, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, the music stopped. The lights dimmed just a little, and a hush fell over the crowd. What was going on? Was it a technical glitch? Everyone looked around, trying to understand the strange shift in energy. And then Yaman, standing at the center of the stage, reached for the microphone. The entire room went silent, the anticipation palpable. What was he about to say? Was it a new project announcement? A joke to lighten the mood? Or could this be something entirely different, something much more personal? Yaman cleared his throat, and the microphone crackled with static. He paused for a moment, letting the stillness of the room wash over him. For those few seconds, it felt like time itself had stopped. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him, the actor they'd seen on screens, admired from afar, and adored by millions. What could he possibly be about to share in front of so many people? Was this a moment of performance? Or was something real, something deeply personal, about to unfold in a way that no one expected? With a deep breath, Yaman began to speak. His voice, usually confident and composed, sounded raw, almost fragile. Life, it has a way of surprising us, he started, his eyes scanning the crowd. You think you have everything under control, that you're invincible, but then life catches you off guard. It's funny how quickly everything can change. One moment you're soaring, and the next you're falling into an emotional void. The words were soft, vulnerable, and yet each one carried a heavy weight. There was something different about his tone, something deeply authentic. The crowd stood motionless, caught between confusion and concern. Was Yaman admitting to something he'd never spoken about before? Was this a glimpse into his personal struggles? His next words only deepened the mystery. We all think we can handle everything. We think we can push through, but the truth is, sometimes you just can't. You hit a point where everything starts to feel overwhelming, and you realize you've been carrying so much, too much, and you don't even know where to begin with it all. At this point, it became clear that this wasn't just a fleeting moment of emotion. This wasn't Yaman giving a speech for the sake of it. This was real. It was an unfiltered look into his personal struggles, a vulnerability that felt completely out of place in the glitz and glamour of the nightclub scene. The guests in the room were taken aback. How could someone so famous, so adored by millions, be standing there, speaking about such deep emotional turmoil? This wasn't the Yaman they knew from television screens, movie sets, or social media. This was a man, an individual, opening up in a way that most people would never dare to do. The room was frozen. Everyone seemed to be holding their breath, waiting for Yaman to continue. What was he trying to say? And why was he sharing this with them now, in front of so many eyes? Was he on the verge of a breakdown? Or was this a sign of something bigger, something more profound happening in his life? Yaman took a deep breath and continued. His voice, although still shaky, gained a little strength as he spoke. I guess what I'm trying to say is this. We're all human. We try to hold it together, but sometimes we break. We break because we're not invincible. We're fragile. We have fears, insecurities, doubts. We have all the same things you do, even though you might not always see them. And right now, I'm just trying to make sense of it all. The crowd was stunned into silence. The energy that had once filled the room was now replaced with something deeper, something quieter, and more reflective. People looked at Yaman with a mixture of concern and empathy. They could see that this wasn't just a performance or a publicity stunt. This was something real. And in that moment, it felt like everyone in that room was witnessing a turning point, not just for Yaman, but perhaps for themselves as well. For a moment, Yaman closed his eyes, as if to gather himself. When he opened them again, he smiled, a small, bittersweet smile that seemed to acknowledge the weight of what he had just shared. "I didn't expect this to happen tonight," he said, his voice steadier now. "But sometimes you just have to let it out. You can't keep pretending. You can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. And I'm here to tell you that I'm not fine. But that's okay. It's okay to not be okay." The crowd, though still in shock, began to react. First, there was a murmur. Then slowly the applause began. It wasn't the usual kind of applause you give to a celebrity. This wasn't for a great performance or a fantastic show. No. This was something different, something heartfelt. This was a response to Yaman's vulnerability, his courage to stand before them and speak his truth, despite the weight of it all. Some guests wiped away tears. Others gave him a standing ovation. It was as if everyone in that room had shared a collective, silent acknowledgement. Yaman was human, just like the rest of them. And sometimes it's okay to show your emotions, to let yourself be seen for who you really are, not just the persona you've built up. Yaman smiled, though his eyes still held a deep sadness. "I didn't want to bring down the vibe of the night. I just needed to say it," he said. Then he took a deep breath, as if trying to shake off the weight of the moment. "But hey, let's get back to having fun. The night is still young." With that, he left the stage, his face slightly flushed from the emotions he had just shared. The music kicked back in, and the lights flashed once more, signaling that the party was officially back on. But things weren't the same. The atmosphere in the club had shifted. People weren't just dancing anymore. They were reflecting. They were thinking about what Yaman had said and what it meant. They were reminded that, even in the world of fame and fortune, everyone carries their own battles. As the night continued, the club buzzed with whispers and theories. What had just happened? Was this a sign of something deeper? Was Yaman going through something personal that the public didn't know about? Some fans speculated that this emotional breakdown might be tied to a new project he was working on, maybe a film or a performance that had pushed him to his emotional limits. Others wondered if this was a cry for help, a moment of honesty about the pressures that come with being in the public eye. By the time the night ended, the speculation was rampant. News outlets picked up on the story. Magazine news and gossip led the charge, asking the big questions. Was Yaman simply having a breakdown, or was there more to it? Could this emotional outburst signify a shift in his career, or was it a sign that he was facing something much darker in his personal life? Fans and followers flooded social media with messages of support and curiosity, eager to know more. The mystery surrounding Yaman's confession only grew with time. People couldn't stop talking about it. Was this a rare moment of vulnerability, a turning point, or a glimpse into a future where the actor would share more of himself with the world? What was next for Yaman? One thing was certain. That night at Yaman Nightclub, something unforgettable had happened. And the world would be watching closely, waiting for Yaman to reveal more about what had prompted this emotional moment. What came next was anyone's guess, but everyone was eager to find out. Stay tuned to Magazine News and Gossip for more updates on Yaman's journey, and keep following the unfolding story. Trust us, this is just the beginning.